I am your husband. You will do exactly what I say. 2 of my friends are coming tonight. Make sure you entertain them well. My wife, my moneymaker.
Most husbands protect their wives. But Caleb? He was selling his wife to the highest bidder. How did Abigail, a loving wife, end up trapped in such a heartbreaking nightmare? And did she ever find her way out? Watch till the end to find out. Caleb was sitting in their small Lagos apartment when he suddenly jumped up from the sofa. This is it. This year I must make plenty money. His eyes were shining with that greedy look Abigail had learned to fear. Abigail, come here now. She came out from the kitchen, drying her hands. Yes, he threw a black bag at her. Wear this. Go and change. Inside the bag was a tiny skirt and a crop top that barely covered anything. Her heart dropped. Caleb, what is this for? Just wear it. Don't waste my time. When she came back wearing the clothes, Caleb walked around her slowly, nodding like he was inspecting goods for sale. Perfect. Your body is shaped like a goddess. Now go to this address and make sure the man is very happy. Abigail's voice trembled. Caleb, what do you mean by? You know what I mean. His voice turned sharp. Remember what I told you last night? Those loan sharks will kill us, kill me, if I don't pay. Both of us will die. Abigail, is that what you want? She remembered. He'd kept her awake until 3 a.m., pacing, sweating, telling her about the debt collectors who threatened to waste him if he didn't deliver their money. I have arranged everything, he continued, his voice gentler now, almost pleading. Some businessmen will pay good money. All you need to do is go, be sweet to them, keep them happy, do whatever they ask. That's all. Caleb, no, please, there must be another way. No? His voice got loud and angry. That loan, half of it was because of you, your mother's hospital bills, the funeral, everything. So this is how you will pay me back. And that's how it started. Caleb was sending his own wife to sleep with strange men for money. The hotel was in Victoria Island. Big, expensive, the type Abigail had only seen in movies. Room 408. She knocked. A big man in an expensive agbada opened the door, gold chains on his neck. His eyes widened when he saw her. Well, well, he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. Caleb undersold you. Come in, beautiful. Let's get comfortable. The door closed behind her. The next morning, Abigail came home looking destroyed. Makeup smudged, clothes wrinkled, eyes empty like someone had taken her soul. Caleb was waiting with a big smile. My wife, my moneymaker. The man called me. He said you were fantastic. He waved money in her face. See, easy money. I already have another client for you in 3 days. Abigail said nothing. She just walked to the bathroom, locked the door, and cried. 3 days later, it happened again. Another hotel, another man, this time in Lekki. Same thing, Caleb said, not even looking up from his phone. The man is paying $70,000. Make sure you do well. Caleb, please, can't we find another way? I can get another job. Another job. He laughed like it was a joke. And they will pay you what? $5,000 a day? We need millions. Stop being ungrateful. But I can't. His hand hit the table hard. You will do it. Your mother's bills didn't pay themselves. 3.5 million naira. That's what you owe me. She went. What choice did she have? The second hotel. Another businessman. Younger this time. Expensive Rolex watch. He looked at her like she was something he was buying. Hours later, she left the hotel and started walking home. But she couldn't face Caleb yet. Couldn't face his smile and his counting of money. So she just walked. Bare feet on the pavement, shoes in her hand. And as she walked, she thought about how her life became this nightmare. 2 years ago, her mother got very sick. Lagos University Teaching Hospital. The bills were crushing them. Abigail sold everything, borrowed from everyone. But it wasn't enough. Then Caleb appeared. He was her mother's friend's son, someone she vaguely remembered from childhood. He showed up at the hospital with a calm smile and a thick envelope of cash. Don't worry about money. I'll handle everything. But how will I pay you back? We will talk about that later. Right now, your mother needs help. His smile was so kind, so genuine. Consider it a blessing. God sent me to help you. He paid for treatments, medications, everything. Even when her mother died, Caleb stayed. He paid for the funeral, held Abigail when she cried. 6 months later, he proposed. She was so tired, so alone, so grateful. She said yes. The first month of marriage was fine, normal. He was attentive, sweet even. But then, slowly, the mask began to slip. He stopped coming home for dinner. When he did come home, he smelled like alcohol and cheap perfume. Money disappeared from her purse. Bills went unpaid while he bought new designer shoes, new chains, new watches. "Where were you?" she'd asked one night when he stumbled in at 3 a.m. "Making money moves, baby. Don't question me. I'm the man of this house." She discovered the gambling by accident. Bet Ninja receipts falling out of his pockets. Screenshots of sports betting on his phone. Thousands lost on football matches. Tens of thousands on virtual games. "It's an investment," he'd say whenever she brought it up. "You have to spend money to make money." Then the loan sharks started calling, threatening, showing up at their door. When she tried to leave after 8 months of marriage, he sat her down at their dining table with a folder. Thick, official-looking, terrifying. "Look at this. Hospital bills, 2.3 million naira. Funeral expenses, 450,000 naira. Your mother's medication, 780,000 naira. The tombstone, 120,000 naira. Food and transportation during her illness, 140,000 naira. Total, 3.53 million naira." He looked up at her, his eyes completely cold, devoid of the warmth she'd once believed was real. "That's what you owe me, every single kobo. You think you can just walk away? Pay me first. Until then, you stay and you do exactly what I say." "But Caleb, you said it was a gift. You said God sent you." "I lied." He shrugged, completely unbothered, like he was discussing the weather. "Business is business. Love is one thing, but money is money. You want to leave? Pay me, otherwise you belong to me." She'd been secretly saving since then, working extra hours at her receptionist job, skipping meals, walking instead of taking buses, hiding money in an old shoebox under their bed, wrapped in old newspapers. After a year, she had almost 200,000 naira. Not nearly enough to pay him back, but enough to disappear, enough to start over somewhere he couldn't find her. She was planning to leave next month, just one more month of saving. But then he'd come up with this new business plan. Walking now, Abigail's mind was racing, and then the truth she'd been hiding, even from herself, came flooding back. At the first hotel he sent her to, she remembered what really happened. She'd stepped into that room. The man reached for her. "Sir, please wait." Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her envelope of savings. "How much did you pay my husband?" 50,000. "Why?" She counted out the money, her escape fund shrinking. "Take it back, please. Just tell him everything went well, but let me go." The man stared. "You're paying me not to touch you?" "Yes, please, sir." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm begging you." He took the money slowly, studying her face. What kind of man sends his wife to do this? "A desperate one," she whispered, repeating Caleb's words like a mantra she'd been forced to learn. The man shook his head, pocketing the money. "I have daughters your age. Go. I'll tell him you were wonderful. But you need to leave that man, you hear me?" "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you." She fled. The second hotel, same thing. The younger businessman with his Rolex had been less sympathetic at first. "How much did you pay?" she'd asked immediately before he could touch her. 70,000. "But what?" "Please, sir, I'll give you the money back. Just let me go. Please." She'd pulled out her envelope again, thinner now, her escape fund bleeding away. He'd been angry. "Are you insulting me? You think I need your money? I paid for a service." "Please." She dropped to her knees, desperate, terrified. "Please, I'm begging you. I can't do this. I won't survive this. Please just take the money. Tell him anything. But please don't make me. Please." Something in her desperation had reached him. Or maybe he'd just been uncomfortable with a woman literally begging on her knees in front of him. "Get up," he'd said finally, his voice softer. "Just get up." He'd taken the money, 70,000 naira, more than half of what she had left. "Your husband is a wicked man," he'd said as she'd hurried toward the door. "You should run far away from him." But how could she run with no money? Walking now, Abigail did the math. She'd had 200,000 naira saved. 50,000 to the first man, 70,000 to the second man. That left her with only 80,000. Not enough to escape, barely enough for anything. And Caleb didn't know. He thought she'd actually done what he demanded. He thought she'd sold herself, and he was happy about it. She'd protected herself, yes, used her escape money to buy her freedom from those men, but now she had almost nothing left. Tears ran down her face as she walked. Then she saw something that changed everything. A man collapsed on the sidewalk ahead. Just fell. People walked past him, stepped over him. Nobody stopped. But Abigail stopped. Even with everything she was going through, she couldn't leave someone dying. She ran to him. "Sir, can you hear me?" She felt his pulse, weak. His skin was cold and sweaty. "Help! Somebody help!" But people just walked faster. She flagged down a taxi, half carried the man inside. "Maxwell Hospital, fast! He's dying!" At the hospital, doctors rushed him away. 20 minutes later, a doctor came out. "He's stable for now, but he's in critical condition. Severe exhaustion, dangerously high blood pressure. His body was shutting down. Another hour and he might have had a stroke or heart attack." The doctor paused. "You saved his life by bringing him in when you did." Abigail felt something. Relief, maybe. A tiny flicker of something good in an ocean of bad. "We need to run tests and keep him for observation," the doctor continued. "But we'll need a deposit before we can admit him." Here it comes, Abigail thought. The inevitable question. How much? 80,000 naira. The world stopped. 80,000 naira. That was almost everything she had left. Her entire remaining escape fund, what little remained after paying off those two men, wiped out in one moment. She looked through the window at the stranger on the stretcher. Unconscious, vulnerable, alone, just like her mother had been, just like she was now. She thought about all the people who'd walked past him, who'd seen him dying and decided it wasn't their problem. She thought about what kind of person she wanted to be, what kind of person her mother had raised her to be before Caleb and his cruelty had tried to destroy that. "I'll pay for it," she heard herself say. The nurse looked surprised. "You know this man?" "No, but someone has to help him." She went to the ATM in the hospital lobby, checked her balance, 83,450 naira. Everything she had left in the world. She withdrew 80,000 naira. Her hands shook as she counted the bills. Her escape fund disappearing completely. Her freedom slipping away. Her last hope gone. But she paid for it. An hour later, the doctor confirmed the man was stable and sleeping. "You can go home," the nurse said kindly. "We'll call if anything changes." Abigail knew she should leave. Caleb would be furious if she stayed too long. But she couldn't just abandon this stranger after everything. She wrote her phone number on a piece of paper and left it at the nurse's station, "in case you need to reach me." Then she walked out into the Lagos night, feeling emptier than ever. She had 3,450 naira left to her name. No escape plan, no hope, nothing. She'd just given away her last chance at freedom to save a stranger's life. Maybe Caleb was right, maybe she was just stupid, but at least she was still human. Still capable of caring about someone other than herself. That had to count for something, even if it meant she'd be trapped forever. When the stranger woke up, he was confused. "What happened?" "You collapsed, sir? A young woman brought you here and paid for everything. She saved your life." Fragments of memory returned. The crushing pressure in his chest, the world tilting. A woman's face hovering above him, tears streaming down her cheeks, her voice cutting through the darkness. "Please stay with me. Don't die. Please. Where is she? I need to thank her." "She left, sir. But she left her phone number in case we needed to contact her." Richard stared at the slip of paper the nurse handed him. A phone number. A stranger who didn't know him, didn't owe him anything, had saved his life and paid for his treatment. The man, Richard Obi, stared at the paper. A stranger had used her own money to save him while everyone else walked past. He grabbed his phone from the bedside table and dialed with shaking fingers. "Marcus, it's me. I'm at Maxwell Hospital. Get here immediately. And bring my checkbook. I need to find someone." His assistant arrived within the hour, concern etched on his face. "Sir, what happened? Are you all right?" "I will be, but first, I need you to find someone for me." He handed Marcus the paper with Abigail's number. "This woman saved my life. Find out everything about her. Name, address, everything. I need to thank her properly." The doctors told him later, months of overwork, stress, no sleep, living on caffeine and adrenaline. His body had finally given up. Another hour on that sidewalk, and he would have died or suffered permanent damage. That woman, that stranger, had given him a second chance at life. Marcus was efficient. Within a day, he had a full report. "Her name is Abigail Williams, sir. She's 28 years old, lives in Surulere with her husband, Caleb Nwosu. She works as a receptionist at a trading company in Ikeja. Salary is quite modest, about 80,000 naira a month." Marcus hesitated. Sir, I should mention, there's very little online presence. No social media activity in over 2 years. No recent photos. It's unusual for someone her age. Richard frowned. What are you thinking? I'm not sure, but people who disappear from social media are usually either very private or... Marcus trailed off. Or what? Or they're hiding, or being hidden. Something cold settled in Richard's stomach. Give me her address. Sir, perhaps you should rest. Now, Marcus, give me the address now. Richard drove himself to Sur-Alaire, which surprised Marcus. He usually had a driver, but this felt personal. The address was a rundown building with peeling paint and rusted railings. As Richard climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, he heard voices, raised, angry, violent. 2 of them, Abigail. My friends are coming tonight, and you will entertain them. Both of them. I already collected the money. No, please, Caleb, I can't. I have no money left. I won't do this anymore. You have no choice. You still owe me millions, and you've been doing fine so far, so what's the problem now? I can't. Please, just give me time. I'll find another way. Time? A man's laugh, cruel and mocking. Time doesn't pay my debts. You've been working well for me. Those men loved you. So what's changed? Why are you being difficult now? Because I have nothing left. I can't keep. You don't need anything. You just need to do what you're told. Your body pays my debts. That's the arrangement. It's not an arrangement. You're destroying me. I don't care. Your mother's bills. My mother is dead, and you're using her memory to turn me into. The sound of something breaking, glass shattering, a woman's scream. Richard didn't think. He pounded on the door with his fist. The apartment went silent. Then footsteps, heavy and angry. The door yanked open to reveal a man with bloodshot eyes from alcohol or rage or both. Designer sneakers, expensive watch, but cheap clothes. The look of a man who valued appearance over substance. What? Caleb snapped. What do you want? Behind him, Richard could see her, Abigail. The woman from his memory. She was backed against the wall, tears streaming down her face, one hand clutching her arm where a red mark was forming. I'm looking for Abigail, Richard said, his voice carefully controlled despite the rage building in his chest. Who are you? What do you want with my wife? Caleb blocked the doorway. I need to speak with her. It's important. This is family business, husband and wife business. So unless you want trouble... It doesn't look like a family conversation, Richard said coldly. It looks like someone who needs help. Help? Caleb laughed, but his eyes were calculating now, assessing the expensive watch, the tailored suit, the Mercedes key. She doesn't need help. She needs to do her job. She owes me money, lots of money. And she's refusing to work to pay it back. She's been working fine until now, but suddenly she's being difficult. What kind of work? Richard asked, though pieces were falling into place. Caleb's smile was ugly. The kind that pays well. She has a profitable body, my wife does. Been making me good money. 2 clients already, both very satisfied. He looked Richard up and down. You look like a man with money. Good money. Maybe we can do business. You pay me well, you get her for the night. I'm very reasonable with my rates. Caleb! Abigail's voice was anguished, horrified. Please, don't. Shut up. I'm talking business here. He turned back to Richard. In fact, I have 2 friends coming tonight, but for the right price, I could cancel them. You look like you could pay more anyway. Richard felt something dark and violent rise in his chest. A rage so pure he had to clench his fists to keep from throwing this man down the stairs. But violence wouldn't help her. He forced himself to think strategically. How much does she owe you? He asked, his voice deceptively calm. Caleb's eyes lit up with greed. 3.5 million naira. But you know, with interest for time and stress, call it 5 million total. 5 million? Abigail gasped. You said. Interest, baby, plus appreciation of assets. You're proven goods now. Caleb said it so casually, like she was a car he was selling. Richard wanted to destroy this man, but he focused on what mattered. Here's my offer, Richard said. She comes to work for me as my personal assistant, legitimate work in my company. I'll pay you 5 million naira over 1 year, monthly installments of about 420,000 naira. She works for me, earns a real salary, pays you back properly. Deal? Caleb's eyes narrowed with suspicion and greed. Why would you do that? You don't even know her. Why not just pay for 1 night like a normal person? Because I need a good assistant, and I believe in legitimate business. Richard's voice was steel. Take it or leave it. Decide now. Caleb studied Richard. The Patek Philippe watch that cost more than a car, the bespoke suit, the air of wealth and power. This man wasn't just rich. He was wealthy. The kind of wealthy that didn't play games. And Caleb, for all his cruelty, was a coward who respected money above all else. Fine, deal. Caleb nodded slowly. But she works for you full-time until every kobo is paid. No leaving early, no sick days, no nonsense. You hear that, Abigail? You belong to him now until the debt is cleared. Wait, Abigail started, terror in her voice. She looked at Richard, clearly afraid he was just another version of the same nightmare. Trust me, Richard said quietly, looking directly into her eyes. Please, I promise. I swear, you will be safe. I will never hurt you. Just trust me. There was something in his face, in the steadiness of his gaze, in the gentle way he spoke, that made Abigail pause. You, she whispered, recognition dawning. You're the man I took to the hospital. Yes, and you saved my life. His voice was soft, meant only for her. You spent your money you needed, to save a complete stranger. Now please, let me help you. She looked back at Caleb, at the man who'd been destroying her piece by piece, then back at Richard, at a stranger offering a lifeline. What did she have to lose? She was already in hell. She grabbed her bag and walked out the door. In Richard's Mercedes, Abigail sat rigid in the passenger seat, her whole body vibrating with tension. She didn't know this man, didn't know what he really wanted. For all she knew, she was just being traded from one nightmare to another. Richard pulled away from the curb, drove 2 blocks, then pulled over in a quiet side street. He turned off the engine. You're afraid of me, he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Abigail said nothing, just stared straight ahead. You need to understand something, Richard continued. I'm not him. I'm not whatever you think is about to happen. It's not that. Still silence. That man back there, Richard said, his voice tight with controlled anger. Your husband. He was talking about selling you to his friends, talking about you like your property. He stopped, took a breath. How long has this been happening? Abigail's hands were clenched in her lap, knuckles white. Please, Richard said more gently. Talk to me. I can't help if I don't understand, and I want to help. I promise you. I just want to help. Something in his voice, the genuine care, the lack of predatory intent, broke something loose in Abigail. She'd been holding everything inside for so long, drowning in shame and fear and desperation. He said you've sent you out twice already, Richard said carefully. To men. Is that true? And then it all came pouring out. Yes, she whispered. Twice. He sent me twice. To hotel rooms. To strangers. Her voice cracked. But I didn't. She broke down completely, her whole body shaking with sobs. Richard sat very still, giving her space, letting her cry. I never slept with them, she finally gasped out. I couldn't do it. Richard's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Then what? I paid them. The words tumbled out in a rush. I had money saved. Almost 200,000 naira. I'd been saving for over a year to escape him. And when he sent me to those hotels, I would beg the men to take the money back, whatever they'd paid Caleb, and just let me go. Just tell him everything went well, but let me leave. Jesus Christ, Richard breathed. The first man, 50,000 naira. I paid him, begged him. He let me go. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. The second man, 70,000. I got on my knees and begged. He finally took it and let me leave. So you never? No. She looked at him finally, her face a mess of tears and devastation. I protected myself. I used my escape money to buy my freedom from those men. But now I have nothing. And then you collapsed, and the hospital needed 80,000 for the deposit, and I paid it because I couldn't let you die. But now I have maybe 3,000 naira left. My entire escape fund is gone. And Caleb wanted to send me to 2 men tonight, and I have no money left to pay them off. And I was telling him, no, I can't, I won't, but he doesn't care. He's never cared. She turned to look at Richard fully, her eyes red and swollen. He thinks I've been doing what he told me to do. He thinks I've been sleeping with those men, and he's happy about it, proud, counting his money. Money is all he's ever cared about. Gambling, scheming, he'd sell his own soul for cash. And he did. He sold me. Or tried to. Richard sat in silence for a moment, processing the depth of her courage and her pain. You saved yourself, he said finally, his voice thick with emotion. Twice. You found a way to protect yourself even when you had no power, no options. Do you understand how brave that is? I'm not brave, Abigail said bitterly. I'm trapped, and now I have no way out. Yes, you do. Richard turned to face her. Listen to me very carefully, Abigail. What I said back there was true. I'm offering you a real job. Executive assistant to the CEO. That's me. The salary is 400,000 naira per month. Normal office hours, normal office work, managing schedules, correspondence, coordinating with my team. Nothing else. Nothing inappropriate, nothing degrading. She looked at him skeptically, afraid to believe. There's a company apartment you can use, he continued, fully furnished in Ikoyi with security. You can move in today. Right now. You never have to go back to that man. But the debt. I'll pay him the monthly installments, like I said. But that's between me and him. Your salary is yours. You can save it, spend it, do whatever you want. The job is real, Abigail. I'm not playing games. I'm not like him. Why? The question came out broken. Why would you do this for me? Because you saved my life, Richard said simply. You spent your last money you desperately needed to escape, to make sure a complete stranger didn't die. Do you understand how rare that is? How precious? He reached out slowly, carefully, and gently took her hand. She flinched but didn't pull away. Someone like you doesn't deserve what he's done to you, Richard said, his voice fierce with protective intensity. Someone like you deserves to be safe, to be valued, to be free. So please let me help you. Not because you owe me, not because I expect anything from you, but because it's the right thing to do. Because when I was dying on that sidewalk, you were the only one who stopped, the only one who cared. Let me return that kindness. Abigail stared at their joined hands. You, his grip was gentle, asking nothing, offering everything. You really mean it? She whispered. This is really just a job? Nothing else? I swear on everything I hold dear, Richard said, looking directly into her eyes. Just a job. You'll be safe. I promise you. For the first time in months, maybe for the first time in 2 years, Abigail felt something like hope flicker weakly in her chest. Okay, she whispered. Okay, yes, please, help me. Richard squeezed her hand gently. You're going to be okay. I promise. This nightmare is over. As they drove toward Ikoyi, toward her new life, Abigail allowed herself to imagine something she thought was impossible. A future where she belonged to herself again. Behind them, Surulere and Caleb and that suffocating apartment grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Ahead was uncertainty, but for the first time in so long, it felt like the good kind of uncertainty. The kind that held possibility instead of dread. Abigail stood in Richard's corner office on the 15th floor of Okonkwo Tower in Ikoyi, reviewing the day's schedule on her tablet. The view stretched across Lagos, from the lagoon to the mainland, a sprawling city of chaos and dreams. She wore a professional navy dress suit. Her hair was styled in elegant braids. Her nails were manicured. She looked like a different person from the broken woman who'd climbed into Richard's car 6 months ago. She felt like a different person. The work was challenging but rewarding. Managing Richard's calendar, coordinating with international partners, handling sensitive business negotiations. She discovered she was good at it. Sharp, organized, professional. Her mind, freed from constant fear and degradation, had blossomed. These are the contracts from the Johannesburg partners, she said, placing a folder on Richard's mahogany desk. Already reviewed by legal. And your 2 p.m. meeting canceled, so you actually have time to eat lunch today. Miracle of miracles. Richard looked up from his laptop and smiled. That warm, genuine smile that still made her heart skip. Have lunch with me? It had become their routine. Lunch in the executive dining room where they talked about everything. Where she'd learned about his childhood in Ajagunle, how he'd built his software company from nothing, coding in cyber cafes because he couldn't afford a laptop. His vision of bringing tech education to poor communities across Nigeria, where he'd listened, really listened, as she told him about her mother, the illness that had drained them, the grief that had consumed her, how Caleb had appeared like an angel and slowly revealed himself to be a demon. None of it was your fault, Richard had told her one afternoon, his hand covering hers across the white tablecloth. He exploited your grief, your gratitude, your love for your mother. That's what abusers do. They find your weakness and they weaponize it. But I should have seen through him. You were drowning, and he threw you a rope. How could you know the rope had a noose at the end? His eyes had been fierce, protective. You're not stupid, Abigail. You're not weak. You're not complicit. You're a victim of calculated manipulation. There's a difference. She'd cried then, really cried, for the first time since everything started. Deep, cleansing sobs that seemed to wash away layers of shame and self-blame. And Richard had just sat there, holding her hand, letting her break apart so she could begin to heal. He'd arranged for her to see a therapist, Dr. Adiemi, a kind woman who specialized in trauma and abuse. Twice a week, Abigail sat in that calm office and slowly learned to see herself as human again. Learned that survival took many forms. That protecting herself with her savings had been an act of extraordinary courage, not cowardice. The divorce papers had been filed 4 months ago. Richard's lawyers were the best in Lagos. Sharp, aggressive, thorough. When they'd presented evidence of Caleb's employment arrangements for his wife, along with financial records showing his gambling addiction and fraudulent activities, the judge's face had gone pale with disgust. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks ago. Abigail Nwosu was now Abigail Okafor. She'd taken back her maiden name. She was free. Abigail? Richard's voice brought her back to the present. She blinked, realizing she'd been staring out the window, lost in thought. What? Lunch? He stood up, but he was looking at her differently now. Nervous. Hopeful. Vulnerable in a way that powerful men rarely allowed themselves to be. Actually, before lunch, I need to tell you something. He walked around the desk, stopping a respectful distance away. The debt is fully paid off. As of last week, Caleb has received his entire 5 million naira. Every kobo. Her heart clenched. Oh, which means, technically, you don't owe me anything anymore. You could leave, work somewhere else, do whatever you want. Fear shot through her. Do you want me to leave? No. He laughed at his own vehemence. God, no. The opposite. I'm terrible at this. What I'm trying to say is... He took a breath. These past 6 months have been the best of my life. Not because of business, though we're doing well. Because of you. Because of getting to know you. Getting to watch you heal and grow and remember who you are. He took a step closer. I'm falling in love with you, Abigail. Maybe I started falling the moment you saved my life. Or maybe it was later, when I watched you rebuild yourself piece by piece and refused to let what happened define you. But I know that I don't want this to just be about work anymore. I don't want you to be just my assistant. Richard. Her voice caught. I know it's complicated, he continued quickly. I know you've been through hell. I know you have every reason not to trust any man ever again, especially not one who technically had power over you. But the debt is paid. You're free. And I'm hoping, praying, that maybe you can see I'm different, that these 6 months have shown you that I just want you to be happy, safe, free, that I would never... Richard, stop. Abigail crossed the space between them. He stopped, anxiety flooding his handsome features. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice trembling. I'm so scared of making another mistake, of trusting the wrong person again, of being hurt again. I know, I understand. But, she continued, placing her hand gently on his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath her palm, you've never given me a reason to fear you. Not once. You saved me when you didn't have to. You gave me a real job with real dignity. You paid for my therapy. You've been patient and kind and... Her voice broke. And you've shown me what real goodness looks like. His eyes were bright with emotion. Abigail. I'm falling in love with you too, she said, the words tumbling out like a confession. I've been trying not to, trying to protect myself, but I can't help it. You make me feel safe. You make me feel human again. You make me believe I deserve good things. You do? He said fiercely, his hands coming up to cup her face with infinite gentleness. You deserve everything good in this world. I'm still scared, she whispered. I know, and I'm not asking for complete trust right now. I'm just asking for a chance. Let me show you day by day, month by month, year by year that you're safe with me, that I'll never hurt you, that this, he gestured between them, is real. Can you give me that chance? She looked up at him, at the man who'd intervened when he could have walked away, who'd offered her freedom when he could have demanded something else, who'd been patient when she flinched at sudden movements, who'd celebrated her small victories and sat quietly during her difficult days. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I can do that. When he kissed her, it was gentle, tentative, asking permission with every movement. And when she kissed him back, wrapping her arms around his neck, it felt like coming home after a long, terrible journey. It felt like freedom. The knock on Abigail's apartment door came on a Sunday morning. She was making breakfast, actually cooking, something she'd started doing again, finding joy in small domestic pleasures, and singing along to the radio. She opened the door to find Caleb. He looked terrible, thinner, almost gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes like bruises. His clothes were wrinkled, shabby. The expensive watch was gone, the designer sneakers replaced with worn-out knockoffs. Abigail. His voice was hoarse, desperate. Thank God. Please, I need to talk to you. Every instinct screamed at her to slam the door, but Dr. Adeyemi's voice echoed in her head. Facing your abuser from a position of strength can be part of your healing, but only if you feel safe. Only if you're ready. She was ready. She stepped outside into the hallway, leaving the door cracked behind her. She didn't invite him in. This was her space now. Sacred. Safe. What do you want, Caleb? I need money. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry. Just, I need money. Of course. No, she said simply. Please, Abigail. His desperation was palpable. I'm in serious trouble. The loan sharks, they're after me again. Worse than before. They're going to kill me if I don't pay. They've already. He pulled up his sleeve to show a bandaged arm. They're not playing. I need money. Please. You're working for that rich man. You must have money now. Then go to the police. The police can't help. These are dangerous people. His voice rose. I need cash. Real money. You're my wife. I'm not your wife anymore. The divorce was finalized. We're done. His face twisted. Because of him? That rich man? You think he loves you? You really think a billionaire cares about a... He caught himself. But the damage was done. About a what? Abigail's voice was cold, steady. Go ahead, say it. I didn't mean, look, I'm sorry, okay? I know I wasn't perfect, but we had something once. Remember? I helped you with your mother. I was there for you. That has to count for something. You helped my mother so you could trap me, Abigail said, her voice calm, factual. You weaponized my grief to control me. You held that debt over my head like a sword. And when that wasn't enough, you tried to sell my body to pay for your gambling addiction. I was desperate. I was scared. Those loan sharks were... I was desperate too, she interrupted. I was terrified, but I never tried to destroy you. I never tried to sell you. I never treated you like property. Caleb's expression shifted, the mask of desperation cracking to show anger beneath. You think you're better than me now? You think you're special because you're with him? Let me tell you something. He's using you just like I did. You're just too stupid to see it. Old Abigail would have flinched, would have wondered if he was right. New Abigail, healed Abigail, free Abigail, just smiled sadly. You know what the difference is, Caleb? Richard has never once asked me for anything I wasn't freely willing to give. He's never manipulated me, never controlled me, never made me feel worthless. He helped me because he's a good person, not because he wanted something from me. He wanted you in his bed. We're not sleeping together, Abigail said calmly. Not that it's any of your business, but Richard has been nothing but respectful. We're taking things slowly, at my pace, because he actually cares about my healing and my comfort. Imagine that. Caleb stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. The concept of a man helping a woman without expecting sexual access in return was clearly beyond his comprehension. You'll regret this, he said finally, his voice turning vicious. You'll regret throwing away your marriage, throwing away the man who saved your mother. You didn't save my mother. She died anyway. Abigail's voice was steady, but tears pricked her eyes, not for Caleb, but for the girl she'd been, drowning in grief and gratitude. And then you used her death to enslave me. You're not a savior, Caleb. You're a predator, and I'm done being your prey. Please. He reached for her, but she stepped back. Don't come here again, she said firmly. Don't call me. Don't contact me. If you do, I'll call the police and file a restraining order. Do you understand? You can't do this to me. I'll die. They'll kill me. Then I suggest you find someone else to exploit, because it won't be me. Not ever again. She stepped back inside and closed the door, locked it, put her back against it, and breathed. From inside the apartment, she heard movement. Richard emerged from the bedroom where he'd been staying out of sight, giving her space to handle this herself, but ready to intervene if needed. Are you okay? He asked, concern written all over his face. Yeah, She nodded, surprised to find it was true. Actually, I really am. He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms, safe, warm, freely chosen. I'm proud of you, he murmured against her hair. You were so strong. I had good practice, she said, wrapping her arms around him. You taught me what strength looks like. Outside, Caleb's footsteps faded down the hallway, the sound of a man walking toward the consequences of his own cruelty. 3 years later, Caleb sat in a moldy one-room apartment in Ajigunle, the same neighborhood Richard had escaped from years ago through hard work and talent. But Caleb had ended up here through vice and violence. He stared at a newspaper someone had left on the bus. The front page made his hands shake. How Abigail Okafor Okonkwo built Nigeria's leading foundation for abuse victims. The photo showed Abigail cutting a ribbon at a new shelter. She was glowing, radiant, visibly pregnant. Richard stood beside her, his hand protectively on her back, looking at her like she hung the moon. She was thriving. Caleb crumpled the newspaper, but he couldn't stop looking at her face, beautiful, confident, free, everything he tried to destroy. The loan sharks had caught up with him 18 months ago. Broken his arm, taken everything he owned, left him with nothing. He declared bankruptcy, lost the apartment in Surulere, ended up here in this slum doing odd jobs for barely enough to eat. He tried other schemes, other scams. But without Abigail to use as bait, as collateral, as a bargaining chip, he had nothing. He tried to extort other women, but he lacked the patience, the long-term planning. He got caught, spent 6 months in jail. Now he was out, but he was nothing. Nobody. A cautionary tale whispered in the streets. Every day he thought about what he'd had. A wife who'd been loyal despite everything. He'd had someone precious, someone rare, and he treated her like garbage, like a commodity, like nothing. And now she was everything, and he was nothing. The karma wasn't instant, but it was perfect. Some nights Caleb couldn't sleep, haunted by what ifs. What if he'd actually loved her? What if he'd gotten help for his gambling? What if he'd been the man she deserved instead of the monster he became? But those thoughts led nowhere. The past was fixed, unchangeable. And the future belonged to Abigail.